Chicago Cubs with a nice win on Tuesday night, starting out a crucial month of July.
You are Locked On Cubs, your daily Chicago Cubs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Cubs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm Sam Olbert. I'm a lifelong fan, taking my passion into a discussion with you on all things Cubs. Thank you for being part of the show and making Locked On Cubs your first listen today. And the best way you can help us grow the show is to listen every day, like the video, and give us a comment below. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. On tonight's show, this morning's show, we have a July outlook talking about this month of July, talking about June, closing the book on June. Was it a blip? Was June a blip? Or was it a trend and sign of things to come? But we start out with an odd baseball game, to say the least, Tuesday night at the Friendly Confines in a 2016 rematch between the Chicago Cubs and the Cleveland Guardians. If you remember that 2016 World Series, Cleveland actually came into Wrigley and took 2 of 3 from the Cubs. We hope that doesn't happen this time. The Cubs went a long way towards that on Tuesday night. Before we break this game down, a couple reminders for you. Please vote All-Star Game. All you got to do, MLB.com/vote, and get Carson Kelly in there. It's going to be tough over Will Smith, but the main thing is we got to show Tuck love, Pete love. I want those two guys starting in the outfield. Ronald Acuna Jr., a lot of respect to him. He's only played like a month plus of the season. He should not make it over any of our guys. The outfield, in my opinion, should be Soto, with the finalists as is, Soto, Tucker, and Pete. So go ahead and do that. Help us get to 15,000 subscribers. And this Saturday, Justin Steele and myself will be doing a watch-along for about 3 innings or so. Cubs-Cardinals will have a cool graphic for you. Tuesday night's game. One of the weirder games, maybe the weirdest inning I've ever seen, and I'm not even exaggerating. Second inning. Cubs start the inning. Pete Crow-Armstrong, opposite field, base hit. Dansby Swanson, opposite field, base hit. Michael Busch, opposite field, I'll save it. Nice job, base hit. And then Carson Kelly clears the bases with a 2-run double that turns into a triple. It's 3-0 Cubs. Here's how the rest of the inning went. Carson Kelly got thrown out at home trying to score on a wild pitch. Nico Horner walked and then got picked off on a 3-0 count. And then Matt Shaw walked and got picked off on a 2-1 count. It's the first time, according to Jesse Rogers and Elias, since August 30th of 1991, in which a team made 3 outs with every hitter reaching base safely. The other way to say it is just making 3 outs on the bases. Wild. Obviously a problem, but kind of a fluky thing. When you break it down, the way I look at it is I'm okay with Kelly's play and I'm okay with Shaw's play. Because Kelly's play, look, I shouldn't say I'm okay with it. I think it was a little fluky. The ball bounced right back to the catcher, but with no outs, that you learned that in 6th grade. With no outs, you have to be sure you're going to score. So I shouldn't say, I take that back. I'm not okay with it, but I think it was a fluky bounce. Shaw, 2-1 count. At that point, Williams slow to the plate, man on first, 2 outs. You're trying to steal a base, you get picked off, it happens. The one that sticks out is Nico getting picked off on a 3-0 count. Wasn't a great night for Nico, but the Cubs bounced back. And why did they bounce back? They bounced back because of Matthew Boyd, who continues to do things for this rotation that you just can't speak enough about. And I've said it a lot. I'll say it again. Matthew Boyd needs to be in Atlanta for the All-Star game. He needs to be rewarded for his performance. He goes 7 innings, 2 earned. He is now 8-3 on the campaign. I know people don't care about pitchers' wins, but I'm going to say it anyway. With a stellar 2.65 earned run average. And that 2.65 has been as consistent as it can be. Just one outing where he wasn't that good. Double-digit outings where he's gone 6+, 3 earned or less. I mean, he has been as consistent as any pitcher maybe in baseball, really, maybe outside of the Scoobles of the world. You can't say enough. And when the Cubs went into that, had that bad inning, and then Cleveland scored 2, you felt like, oh boy, this game could be slipping away. Are we going to give this game away? And it was really Boyd's presence to shut Cleveland down all the way through 7 that made this game feel steady, made it feel calm. And then Seiya Suzuki with the big swing of the bat there to make it 4-2, and then a really nice day for Carson Kelly, made it 5-2. And then, of course, the back end of the bullpen, which has been super reliable, not in the way that we thought it was going to be, but super reliable. Keller to Palencia got the job done. I'm going to talk more about Palencia here in a second. Back fly, three RBIs. He's kind of heated back up here, and I think if he can heat back up, it really provides the Cubs a big boost, because this team looked like a team that can go all the way when Carson Kelly looked like the right-handed version of Barry Bonds. Now, that's not going to happen again, but I think the last 2 months or so with Kelly also, I think he's a better hitter than that as well. So I think you take something in the middle, and something in the middle of that I think will be good enough for the Cubs. It was a really nice day for Pete, who had a couple of hits, one of them off a lefty. That was nice to see, because he didn't have his typical road trip, and it was a nice win. And I think right now, when you're in a position where the Cubs are at, and we're going to talk about this here in a little bit, I don't want to step on it too much. This is the type of win. It's kind of just like it's a feel good win. It's one of those wins where you start a big homestand and you have big ambitions. This homestand is it's a big one. 6 games against 2 teams you really feel pretty confident that you're better than. St. Louis has dropped back-to-back versus the all-of-a-sudden red-hot Pittsburgh Pirates. Cleveland's been slumping, and you can't have a big homestand. You can't start stacking wins together. Dare I say, you can't run before you can walk. So you got to get this one. And it wasn't really pretty on the base paths, but you did what you were supposed to do, and it was nicely done. I'm excited for tomorrow's game. You'd love to take the series and go for the sweep. You have Imanaga back on the mound versus Bybee. You got to look at the conditions when it comes to Shota. Hopefully, similar conditions to today. Not too much wind blowing out, and hopefully he could have a similar outing as he did last time out against St. Louis. And you just kind of take care of business. Bybee, good pitcher, similar to Williams. He's done a lot of good things, as Matt said. Cade's gotten some comps to Tanner Bybee, but the Cubs should be able to put up 4 or 5 plus total in that game. Shota does his thing, and you're feeling really, really good heading into Thursday, the game I'll be at, by the way, trying to get a sweep here. So hopefully the Cubs can get that done, and we'll go from there. I want to talk about the heroes, if you will, of this game a little bit more. I thought they really stood out to me today, and I want to talk about just each guy and what they've meant, and especially in Palencia's case, what they can mean going forward. And we're going to talk about that coming up next. This episode is brought to you by Supply House. Get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trade. Supply House, whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400-plus top brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast. Cubs were not that fast today on the bases, as they made 4 outs from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage. Now, it's your turn. So join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. We are back here on Locked On Cubs, and I thought Tuesday night's game was a really good summary of 4 dudes that have overperformed, to use Jed's term, outperformed expectations, and is four of the biggest reasons why this team sits in first place and is talking about winning the trade deadline and making big moves. And I just want to shout them all out individually. I already did Matthew Boyd. I'll just close out my thoughts on Matthew Boyd by saying this. Crow-Armstrong's been unbelievable for the Cubs. Kyle Tucker's been exactly as advertised. Going to talk about Seiya in a second. Michael Busch been really good. I think you have to have a serious conversation, and not that it matters. I mean, this is podcast stuff. It's fun, just fun to discuss. I think nobody in Cubs land's losing sleep over this. If you're talking about your top three most important Cubs as we sit here July 1st, 2025, in the 2025 campaign, I think you have to take a good, hard, long look at Matthew Boyd and wonder if he's in there. I don't know who's out, if he's in, but he might be in there. Another guy that has to be in that conversation, Seiya Suzuki. Seiya it's such a complicated relationship, or I've never met or spoken to Seiya, but podcasting the player relationship, Seiya and myself, because so many people think I don't like Seiya because I'm on him a lot. When I've said many times, it's quite the opposite. I just believe in the talent. And what he's done this year, now, you look at his slash line, it's 258 and it's 312. If you were to tell me that those would be the first two numbers in his slash line, I would tell you not only is he not having a good year, but the Cubs are in big trouble, because I would expect the last number to be about 450, 460 in that case. The last number is 546, his slug. He has 23 home runs. He's driven in 70. And, Seiya came into the league, and one of the reasons he got paid a lot of money is because of his plate discipline. And we haven't really seen that on display. He's really changed his approach, and you have to give him credit for it. Sometimes I wish he would take a few more walks, but you have to give a guy credit. All the success he's had in his career and in Japan, to come in here, he has become so much more aggressive, and he's just hunting production, right? It's kind of old school. It's kind of anti-analytics in a way, even though I know he's doing the whole pulling the ball in the air. Not a lot of people are going to get overly excited about 258 with a 312 on base, but I'm going to get really excited and encouraged by 23 home runs and 70 RBIs as we sit here on July 1st. This is a guy that has a real chance to go 40 and 100. I mean, I'll ask myself the trivia question. I can't remember the last time a Cub to do that. I guess it would be Lee probably in 2005. I mean, and then obviously Sosa did a bunch, but that's pretty awesome stuff. And then the last two guys I just want to shout out are the bullpen guys, Brad Keller and Daniel Palencia. Brad Keller, kind of cool, and I think a fun precedent for next offseason for Matt and I to maybe jot down. It's very rare, or at least it feels like it's very rare, that the hot spring training story or the hot spring training name comes to fruition and is a big deal. But we heard about Brad Keller and the Cubs loving Brad Keller and feeling like there's something that they could fix there as a non-roster invitee to spring training, and give the pitching lab credit, Hadavi, Zombro, whoever else. This guy has a 1.86 earn run average, and again is in that line of the unsung hero. He just is. I mean, if I told you July 1st, we were going to be going Keller to Palencia, 8-9. If I told you that in late February, you're probably going, oh boy, did we already make trades? Did it go that bad? Did we trade Tucker already? And, Keller's just been really steady and really reliable. And then lastly, Palencia. Folks, what Daniel Palencia displayed on Tuesday night was a story. He was throwing 102, and I've said it always with Palencia that it's two things with him. Number one, can he throw enough strikes? And he's just attacked the zone, and he's just attacked it. And then the second thing is does he have enough confidence in a second pitch to just keep hitters honest? And oh my word, that was on display Tuesday night. 102, 101, and then a wipeout breaking ball to end the game. Somebody on, I don't know if it was on a watch along or on the show, was like, I think Palencia has better stuff than Hodge. And this is when Hodge was still going. I was like, I think Palencia throws harder, but Hodge has better stuff. Well, if that's what's going to be on display, I'm completely wrong. That was electric. This episode is brought to you by Supply House, electrical supplies. That was electric what Daniel Palencia did on Tuesday night. I mean, that had legit closer written all over it. I personally still think they need another arm and in the bullpen, and I think they're going to get one. But I'm telling you, every time I'm going to be watching Palencia closer and closer and closer because he's starting to flash some really, really exciting stuff. I want to transition now just a little bit into, we're July 1st. This was the first game in July, and it was a very nice win. But I want to close out June, and then I want to preview July a little bit, because when you look at the Cubs record, when you look at the breakdown by month, June was their worst month, right? They went 3-4 in March. That doesn't count. 15-9 in April, and I would argue that was their best month, even though they went 18-9 in May. And then in June, they were a 500 ball club, 13-13, and their play, their play on the field backed that up. They played like a 500 ball club, and I think the big question, the $1 million question, the $1 billion question is, when you look at this, is June just a blip on the radar where it's like, hey, this is a major league season. You're going to have one bad month. And to be honest with you, that's not even a bad month. If that's the worst month of the year, that's really good. But you're going to have one down month, and then you get to being yourself again. Or is this a trend? And is the 15-9 and 18-9 not as much what the Cubs were, and they're more like the 13-13 June? And the easy answer and the fast answer is time will tell. July will be the telltale. If they have another 500 month in July, then that pretty much tells you, all right, now we're on a trend being a 500 team here for 2+ months. We got a problem. I personally think, like I said, the best month of baseball the Cubs played was in April, especially offensively. I think that 18-9 May, they did a really good job taking advantage, beating teams that they were supposed to beat. And I got to tell you, and this is a positive thing, I actually thought they played worse baseball in June than their 13-13 record suggests they did. And I think that's a pretty good sign going forward. The pitching is what obviously came down to earth in June. Plus they're hitting against left-handed pitching, especially starters, which we documented on yesterday's show. And we know at some point this month, they're going to make some big trades. My guess would be, a smaller one here coming shortly, and then big ones at the end of the month. But I really don't think those trades will take into full effect until August and September when the deadline's done. So I really do think July is going to be a telltale month for this team in terms of, okay, are they trending towards really struggling and being a 500 team? Or you know what? I just think June was one of those months. You have one of those, and now the Cubs are being back to being hot again. And we're always looking for these reasons. I think me much more so than Matt. I think Matt's been a believer for a while, and I have been too, but you're always kind of like, okay, when are they legit? When is it okay to say this is a great team? When is it okay to say that this team's going to win the Central and all these things? Well, I think July, this next month, is going to be a really good telltale sign. And one of the reasons why I think July is so significant, kind of like May, not as much, but kind of like May, there's some very interesting matchups coming up that I think really favor this ball club, where this team, whether they have a pitcher, whether they make a move or not, need to take advantage of. I want to talk about those coming up next. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. You ever wish managing your money felt easier? With Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. Look, I used to have the worst habit ordering takeout, delivery food services, you name it, noon, 7 o'clock at night, 9 o'clock at night. I'm too lazy to get up. I got to watch the Cub game, and I would just bring this food in. It wasn't until I started using Monarch till I realized how much it was costing me, how bad it was, and Monarch helped me fix it, helped me save more, and helped me grow my wealth. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. All right. Cubs July. Such a big month in baseball. I remember as a kid, July being like that time where you really turned it on. Like, oh, it's July, especially if the Cubs were halfway decent. That's when it feels like July is when it flips a little bit. It's not June. It's you're more than halfway through the season, and now you're ramping up. You got buyer, who's going to buy, who's going to sell, all that good stuff. And as I was just talking about with, June being a 500 month and the Cubs kind of having this opportunity to really prove themselves and to prove that was just a little bit of a hiccup, I want to go over some matchups and some schedule stuff. We did this, and part of this is the superstition in me, because we did this way ahead of time with the 21-game stretch in May and then a little bit into June. Cubs went 16-5. And so why not try and foreshadow another one of those stretches? Okay. Cubs open July at home against Cleveland, as you know, off to a 1-0 start. They host the Cardinals, a very favorable matchup, I would say. Hopefully they can keep the ball in the park this time around. Then they go to Minnesota. I don't know exactly what the matchups will be, but Minnesota is not a very good baseball team, okay? Then they close the first half of the season at New York. Obviously a tough series. Yankees haven't played well in quite a while. Definitely not a series the Cubs can't win, but with their current pattern, current trend, probably one you mark them down for losing 2 out of 3. Then they open the second half with a homestand at home against the Red Sox, who are okay. At home against Kansas City, not very good. At the White Sox. And then they close out the month, obviously, at Milwaukee, which is a tougher series. But I look at this, I'm not doing record predictions or anything like that, but you should win this series against Cleveland. You should win that series against the Cardinals. You should win that series against Minnesota. You should win that series at home against Boston and probably at home against KC and at home against the Sox. I mean, the only ones out there where you go, all right, and you may not win all of them, but the only ones you look at and go, all right, we're probably going to lose 2 out of 3 in the series is at the Yankees and at the Brewers. And if you just, you do your job there, you'll blink. July's over and it'll be a really good month. You'll be going into August with reinforcements, feeling really, really good about yourself and, that previous month. So just some food for thought there. I want to close the show and just talk about some more trade stuff. Feel like that's going to be a part of it every single day. My number one trade target, the guy I want the Cubs to get the most, I believe once Chris Sale went down with the injury, he became my number one target. That's Edward Cabrera. Here are his numbers tonight. 7 innings, 2 hits, no earned. This is from my guy Owen Hurd on Twitter. 6 Ks, 14 whiffs. This is from Owen Hurd. Since the start of May, Cabrera has a 2.07 earned run average, over a K per inning in those 10 starts. In that span, he's allowed 2 or fewer earned runs in all but 1 of his starts. And in those 10 starts, the Marlins are 7-3. I saw this sign with Cabrera because I have him on my fantasy team, so it's cheap. I watch a lot of his starts. I talked about this like a month ago. I almost wish the Cubs were able to jump on it early because they could have got some of these really good starts. I think this is a guy, he's one of those guys that you watch as a baseball fan or an analyst or whatever, and you go, man, if this guy ever puts it together, look out. And it just feels like it's happening. It feels like he's putting it together. And I don't know why, and I could be wrong on this, but I don't know why people are still like, I hope we get Alcantara. That's the ace we need. Look, baseball and being a pitcher is really, really hard. And it's just very difficult. You have one bad outing, everything gets ruined. You have one bad year. It's just tough. It's very unpredictable. Being a pitcher, that's why I have so much respect for the guys that are solid every year, because it just seems like the more analytics and data we have, the more unpredictable pitching in a way has become. You have guys like Zach Gallen this year, who one of the best pitchers in baseball in a walk year, can't pitch anymore. Jordan Montgomery, was one of my free agent targets after he helped lead the Rangers to the World Series. Look at the year he had. It's just so unpredictable. And you have a guy like Sandy Alcantara. His ERA is 7. We're in July now. His ERA is 7. He has 63 strikeouts in 80 innings. And look, maybe the Cubs see something in him that I don't see. And just like they did it with Brad Keller, where, hey, maybe there's something we could fix. But I just think Sandy Alcantara, his price is going to be through the roof. Now, granted, so is Cabrera because of the controllability, but at least you feel like you're catching lightning in a bottle there. If you trade for Alcantara, you better be absolutely sure, because it's going to be costly, that you could fix him. And I just think what I've learned from pitching over the last 2 or 3 years is it's trendy. It's who's hot at the moment. You just don't know, and you have to take, or you do know, but you have to take the guys that are hot. I don't see a path right now for Alcantara turning it around this aggressively, unless the Cubs get him at a fair price. If getting Alcantara is going to cost you, maybe Triantos and Kevin Alcantara and maybe some sort of pitcher, and it's a lower cost, fine. But if they're going to ask for a Horton or they're going to ask for a Casey, and I wouldn't even put Ben Brown in the deal. I mean, Ben Brown's having a better year or as good of a year at the big league level than Alcantara is. So I think Cabrera is the top name. We know that the offer for Mitch Keller's on the table. So many people around the league are fans of Mitch Keller and feel like he's so close to a breakout. Maybe it happens with the Cubs. After our show yesterday with Matt, I reflected. It's probably unlikely that they go blockbuster all with one team. Like, why force yourself? What if you want Suarez, but I don't want Gallen? Maybe you want Kelly. Okay, that's fine. But I truly believe that the Cubs are in on Keller. I believe that story. I think Cabrera is going to be the most prized possession. Maybe the Marlins hold on to him. Who knows? I think the Cubs' most prized possession is Eugenio Suarez. I think that's the guy they want the most. I think that's the guy that changes this team the most. I know people in the comments rightfully pointed out that he's really struggled against lefties this year, but he's been really good against lefties in his career. And I'm more of the trend guy, but I know the Cubs look at the career numbers more. So I don't think that would stop them from acquiring him. There's a lot here. And now that it's July, it's time to start talking about it and, be ready to give up some really big names in the farm system. But it doesn't get more exciting than being a buyer in July, trying to go win a division, trying to go win a pennant, trying to compete for a World Series. And then on the other side of the coin, you have all these things about Kyle Tucker. Does he like it here? Does he not? The All-Star break's coming up. It's definitely a fun time to be a Cubs fan. It really is. I mean, there is no shortage of news. It's very easy right now to be a Cubs podcaster. I could do a whole 30 minutes on Kyle Tucker's extension every day if I wanted to. I wouldn't do that to you guys, but there's the deadline, there's Tucker, there's the All-Star game stuff. It is really, really exciting. And as Jim Bowden said yesterday, as I said early in the year, I really expect the Cubs to go all in on this deadline, blockbuster moves. And I think it's going to be a very fun month. And hopefully the Cubs can continue, or I shouldn't say continue, but hopefully they can get hot again here and make it even all the more fun. Thank you so much for checking out this edition of Locked On Cubs. You give us 30 minutes and we'll give you all things Cubs with a laugh or two along the way. Be sure to subscribe on YouTube, smash the like button for the algorithm, and leave a 5-star review on Apple, Spotify, and everywhere you get your podcasts. I'm Sam Olber, and this is Locked On Cubs.